Hey, how you doing, man? I wanted to tell you guys about religion, and when you've gone to the depths of your inner self the way I have, and you're searching for truth the way I have all of my life. I there was a book by Scott Peck, I think it's called People of the Lie. That book had a profound impact on me. I always have this problem. I'm very smart, too smart for my own good. When I went to public school for the first time after I got a high medals and children's center and all that, I was 11 years old. My Bible was a book by D. Brown called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. And it talked of what Christopher Columbus did, the genocide, how he boasted that these people that he came were so friendly, they were naive to steal. And he bragged to Isabella that they could be made slaves in no time at all. And I used to sit at Maplewood Elementary School as I first started public school. I was 11 years old. I felt totally alienated, like I had come down from a ship from outer space. Because the children that were my age, they seemed so silly and immature and just naive. They still believed in Santa Claus and tooth fairies and things like that. They didn't have any understanding of history, especially the Native American Indians and black people, what they went through. They're just naive kids. And I would sit in my class so bored, it would just drive me nuts. But anyway, we had a tree, big, beautiful maple. And it was the mascot of our school, Maplewood Elementary. Now, this tree, they just paved right over the roots, which is really symbolic of what white society does. You know, well, I would get into trouble because I would try to claw at that tar and free these roots, and then I would throw the tar, and I got sent to the principal's office for throwing rocks. They asked me why I was throwing the rocks, but I wasn't gonna say, hey, I'm trying to save this tree, and if you were about what you say you're about, and you're the principal of this school, well, you would care about the tree that's your mascot. But no, it's not like that. So anyway, when my teacher would try to teach about history, I would always make a big stink because I wanted the truth. I didn't want to hear a bunch of lies. It was years later that I read the book Lies. My teacher told me, but I knew they were lies before I came about reading that book. But the only thing is that nobody else knew. So anyway, I've spent a long, very seriously long time studying religion, and my pursuit of those studies ultimately led me to Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell, he wrote The Power of Myth. He also wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces. He also wrote The Wild Gander, which is one of my favorite books. The Wild Gander is really about a person that loses their religion. And now they're in this timeless, horizonless space. There's nothing to hold them down. They're boundless. There's meaning and there's meaninglessness. So that's where I reached, where you reach the point where, if you're not doing drugs and you're not doing alcohol and you have to face reality itself, you have to face death and, and everything that's in your life. Well, religion is like another escape mechanism, but it also is, it's designed to elevate your consciousness. But unfortunately, we've what you call concretized the myths. We've um, we've taken it to an argument of whether it is true or not, instead of looking at the symbolism. For instance, in Genesis, it says that when you eat from the tree of knowledge, the fruit, you shall be as gods, because you'll know from good and evil. And you have the snake there in the story. The snake is timeless, symbolic of death and resurrection. It's not a coincidence that it's in Genesis. A snake is symbolic of death and resurrection because it sloughs its skin and it crawls off anew. The tree, of course, has long been symbolic of life, family tree, so forth. Tree has been symbolic of life going back to Buddha, which existed at least, 5,000, maybe 10,000 years before Christianity came about. So if you look at all the symbolism and the metaphors that are in this story, and instead of looking at it as a literal story, look at it as symbolic. What is that fruit? What is that apple? Well, I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. That apple is consciousness itself. So when Eve takes a bite into that apple, there's a transformation taking place. She's crossed the threshold from animal consciousness to a higher plane of consciousness. You have a cow out in the pasture. It might be the butcher's right there. But that cow is just going to graze right away. It has no concept of death. So it has ignorance. Ignorance of its life and death. Well, once she bites in the apple, you know of death. Well, how would you know of death? Well, you must have entered that state from being an animal and not having consciousness to being what we are, human beings. And then you know what death is. It's dark. If you look at the dichotomy between light and darkness, everything that's associated with darkness is death, and vice versa. Love is with light. Love is with creation. Darkness is with destruction. And you can see it all extrapolated. The yin yang symbolizes it very well. It's one of my favorite symbols of all time, the yin yang. The polarity of opposites, but it's united as one, interlocking. But let me tell you something that Joseph Campbell said, and I believe it's in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. He said, we don't even have to risk the adventure alone, because the heroes of all time had gone before us. We have only to follow the threads of the hero's path out of the labyrinth. And where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. And where we had thought to find a god, we shall find an abomination. And where we had thought to travel outward, we will come to the center of our own existence. And where we had thought to be all alone in the world, we will find that we are one with it. And those are very profound words, and I'm not certain that I quoted exactly. But in comparative mythology, which is what Joseph Campbell was good at, this guy was phenomenal. an intellect unbelievable. Like he's my favorite author, him and Carl Jung. But when you start to compare all the religions of the world, you see a lot of similarities. For instance, creation myths, they exist in almost every different culture on earth. You take all the different American tribes, African tribes, all over the world, they had a story of how things began. So um, what does that mean? Well, it tells you that when you come into reason, you start wondering about how the world came to be here. That's just a part of our psyche, and what manifests from reason is all the different mythologies that we have in the world. Why one is more popular than another is, well, they came along and converted. If you look at Mexico, for example, um, before Hernando Cortez showed up, you had Montezuma, and they were practicing human sacrifice. They believed, the Aztecs, that the earth, no, that the sun and the moon battled every night. And if they didn't strengthen the sun with human blood and sacrifice, that the sun would lose in its nightly battle with the moon, and the sun wouldn't come up no more, and everybody would die. They believed that very fervently. They had faith in that. Well, then Hernando Cortez came, and it wasn't long before they converted him. You look at Zeus. The story of Zeus is symbolism. It says in the real story of it is he gave birth to Athena from his mind and to the god of war from his crotch. Now we know that a man, even a god, can't give birth. So what's that symbolic of? It tells you that within us is all. To be omnipotent in a god is to have all the attributes that are in existence: wisdom, creativity, sensitivity. Um, if you try to just be one thing and not the other, or live up to some definition of what you are eliminating and dehumanizing yourself. Anyway, I'm getting off the track here. What I'm saying is there is a benefit from pain and suffering. I kneel down in praise of pain. That would be a poem that I would write. Because if you don't succumb to the pain, if you don't buckle under it, that pain is going to make you grow. It's going to give you wisdom. And I can tell you right now, there's only one anodyne for the weight of death that's on all our shoulders. And that's to love other people, to be compassionate. That's the way, that's Mother Teresa. But we all can't be Mother Teresa. We all can't be Gandhi. All we can do is lean with our hearts, either towards darkness or towards light. And I'm going to tell you, when you lean towards darkness, you end up like somebody that I met in prison, Kenny Satan Borak. It's a man that only sees hate. You got to know how to let go, whether it's Joseph Ritchie, no matter what it is. Because the fact of the matter is, I learned, from doing a lot of prison time, hate's just going to eat you up. The only one that's getting satisfaction from you hating someone, well, there's no one getting any satisfaction because you're living with that. That's inside you, that ugliness. And you're holding on that, you're letting that fester. It's building up, it's making you miserable. Well, this person's going on about their business. They could care less. But a lot of us, we're not capable of loving other people. We just ain't. We're too emotionally messed up. I like what Oscar Wilde wrote. He said, "A man's worth is measured by his capacity, his heart's capacity to love others," and that's what we need to do. I sit here and try to post some things, and people want to try to connect me to another Stephen Smith, that I'm some type of child molester. Anybody wants my paperwork, let me know, man. You could call Stephen Lambert and the feds, man, in Hartford. I was in Otisville 2003 to 2005 for mail fraud. I was running my own prison. I'll probably post a video about that at some point. It wasn't a real prison. It was a scam. I've gone down to the depths, man, to the cave, and I rose again. And I'm going to tell you, I there's a level of consciousness that you reach where you're on a plane, you're flying alone. Plane consciousness, you get it? Not many people will reach this place, man. To reach this place, you got to die to rise again. This is Christ crucified, man. It's all there. You know what's got to die? It's symbolized right there, the ego, man. Because when you're young, you get infantile, man. It's all about you, your I sense of self. That's what has to die and resurrect. You have to kill that ego. If you don't kill that I sense of self, you're not going to be able to completely love another person. And until you know love, you're not going to be able to rise. You're not going to be able to ascend. You're not going to know divinity. And all you tough guys out there, man, let's look at the matador, the little skinny wussy guy in the rhinestones. You got this bull coming at you. All he's got is a cape. The bull is the most aggressive creature on human earth. But the matador, this little skinny guy, man, he defeats him. How's he defeat him? With his grace, with his agility, with his swiftness of movement, with his intellect and creativity. And that's how he defeats that bull. The bull is just blind, mad rage, man. There's people like that in prison, man. Prison's full of bulls. But I survived, man. I mean, I don't have the body as a matador, but it's up here, man. You wave a little cape at him, let him charge, and you had the picadors come in and take a few stabs, man. They weaken and they just collapse. Because there ain't nothing up there, man. Just sheer rage. Maybe they need to take a little few drugs, man, to deal with it. Because they don't want to, they don't have the true strength of character, man, to go down deep inside themselves and fight them demons, man. You guys stay strong, man. All you ELAN alumni, you might think I'm a little bit strange, man, but these stories about my mom, I mean, that's her. This is what I experienced. This is what I dealt with. That's her. That's not me. I knew my mom was crazy when I was a kid, man, but what I gotta do? You dealt with the mom that you dealt with. You know? Life is shit, man. But I always knew, man. I always searched for the truth. And I found the truth, man. All these Walmarts I stole from, well, guess whose land they're sitting on? Oneida. Oneida Walmart. Who do you think it used to belong to? Indians, man. They came over here and stole all this damn land, and they're talking about, my mom was part Mohawk, Indian. Everything here, man, this country belonged to Indians. And the white people came, took it over, made their laws, and now it's illegal. Right? You know what I mean? Well, we're going to take it from you. We're going to make our laws, and then we're going to keep it. You steal from us, and we're going to hang you, chop off your hands. Well, they didn't do nothing but rape and plunder and pillar, give disease-ridden blankets to people, make deals and double back. Come on, man. You know what I mean? You want to put some laws in place, man. You got no honor, no integrity, man. Read the other slavery. You know what I mean? People are they ain't even well read, man. I've had college professors, man, that are fools. I did a lot of prison time, but I'll tell you what, I used that time to educate myself. I must have read 1,000 books. Probably read 1,000 books. Well, you people have a good night, man. I just wanted to let you know, man. If you were gonna follow a religion, I would say go with Hinduism. At least with Hinduism, they believe that all religions are true because they all manifest from the one unknowable God. I myself am an atheist. I myself believe that no truth is true if it only divides mankind. I'm a John Lennon man. If I was going to have a religion, man, I'd make a religion up around John Lennon. You know what I mean? Instant karma. Who are you to laugh in the face of love? Imagine. John Lennon was something, man. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I didn't end up in Attica where that damn, I'm not even going to say his name. The person that killed John Lennon. Thank God I didn't end up in Attica. Because I'll tell you what, if I would have seen, oh man, if I would have got and I tell you what, that bastard's in there, and they say he's a celebrity for killing John Lennon. I'm telling you, I'm glad I wasn't around that man. I think I would have strangled him with my bare hands. I swear to God, I would have never been coming out of there. I would have done him in. I really would have. Oh man, if I would have had a chance at him. I'll never forget the day that John Lennon died. I think that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, to tell you the truth. Yeah, the day John Lennon died, man. Gunned down like that, man. All right, man. We got a lot, man. I'm done. I'm done with the rounds in the ring, though. I had all my share. They're all the rounds I want to do. You guys have a good day.